We should learn more tomorrow about the deaths of a Columbus couple. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office and Columbus Police have a joint investigation. What we know so far, one death was reported at a Town of Elba home just outside Columbus. The second death happened in the lobby of the Emergency and Urgent Care Department at Prairie Ridge Health, the hospital in Columbus. The two locations just 3 miles apart. At this time, law enforcement is not saying how the people died, but did share they believe the two deaths are connected.
Tonight, 15 News has confirmed through online records the Town of Elba home is the residence of Dave and Sue Zittel. The
couple, longtime Columbus residents. Dave was the founder and chairman of LICO Manufacturing in the business, confirming the deaths of the Columbus couple. WMTV's Cameron Kelly was in Columbus for several hours today and joins us with more about the Zittels and how they're being remembered.
I talked with several friends of the Zittels that did not want to speak on camera, but they did say Sue's kind heart and Dave's hard work will not be forgotten. We reached out to LICO Manufacturing today and received a statement in response, confirming local law enforcement informed them the couple was found dead. I spoke with Evan Zeppos, the company's principal and senior public affairs advisor, that said, quote, they will be remembered as kind, committed, and giving people who cared about others around them. This is still very fresh in our minds, and we continue to try to process and grieve because of this dreadful set of circumstances. Dave Zittel founded LICO Manufacturing in 1980. The company is a large employer in Columbus and maker of food processing machinery. Many of their friends and colleagues say the couple made an influential impact to the community. Live in the studio, Cameron Kelly, WMTV 15 News.